By far, one of the best features Xbox was able to deliver this generation was support for backwards compatibility, which is going to allow Microsoft to start the next generation and say, look, at launch, you're going to have access to literally thousands of games. And that's going to be a big deal for a lot of people, and certainly a potential selling point. But today we're learning that not only will you have access to all these titles, which frankly we've known since backwards compatibility was launched in 2015, but now we're learning that some of these titles are going to take advantage of the Xbox Series X power in a big way. Now, Microsoft released a blog post today saying that all backwards compatibility games will run natively on the Xbox Series X. They say all titles will run at peak performance and will deliver, in some cases, a much higher performance than they saw at launch on the consoles, resulting in higher and more steady frame rates and running at maximum resolution. They're also going to be able to upscale titles at 4K and load faster due to the SSD. So far, I mean, that all sounds like great news, but it's really what you would expect with new hardware. If you're playing on a potato PC and then you upgrade to a monster PC, then you're going to get all those same benefits that we just covered. But here's where Xbox is going a little bit deeper and going to deliver more. They say that they've developed a new way to add HDR reconstruction techniques, which allows automatic HDR support to a lot of these older games. And so they could add HDR all the way back to original Xbox titles. And they say that it has zero impact to performance, which is really cool. Now, it's not clear how they're doing this, and of course, they're going to add a reconstruction technique to games before HDR was even a thing, so it may not look as good as like something that was built for HDR to begin with, but I mean, it's just an option. HDR is one of those things, again, where you can go in there, usually toggle it on and off or whatever. So again, you have the choice, which is what I always promote. And according to some media, it's possible that they're upscaling and processing the games in HDR, similar to how Apple forced all non-4K content into 4K HDR for its Apple TV. They also mentioned Quick Resume is a thing with backwards compatibility games that, of course, lets you resume where you left off in game across multiple titles. So that's pretty cool. But probably the best news, definitely the best news in my opinion for console gamers, is they're going to give you the ability to jump from 30 frames per second to 60 frames per second, or if the game was at 60 frames per second, it'll be able to jump to 120 frames per second. Now, they don't go into how many games are actually going to support this particular feature because from what I've read in the past, you can't just double the frame rate on every game, but according to them, they figured out some way to at least do it in a lot of titles. And so if you've been with me for a long time on this channel, you know that I've been preaching frame rates over resolution for forever, and allowing you to go back and play some of these titles with these new features, playing it the way that honestly it was meant to be played, that's going to be an incentive for a lot of people to go back and try out some of these older games. Now, we know PS5 is going to have backwards compatibility support with a lot of PS4 games, so it's going to be interesting to see if Sony is able to also pull off something similar and be able to add all these extras using the overhead power in their older titles. So it's going to be interesting to see, but definitely with this announcement right here, kudos for Microsoft putting in the extra work and giving gamers a good reason to go back and try out some of those older titles. So post below, are there older titles that you would go back and play if they had higher frame rates and higher resolution and HDR support added? And how much do you think backwards compatibility matters when it comes to picking out a new console? That does it for me, the Red Dragon. I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.